drop-in centers. So rehabilitation is all not one aspect of it, but there are children in the brothels or in the red light areas who do not have access to good education or good food, and hence the concept of drop-in centers have come. So I will have Supriya share more about it, but before she shares a little about Supriya Seva, she's done her masters in MSW and from Vidyasagar University. She's worked for 6 years in anti-human trafficking organization where she works on rehabilitation and reintegration of survivors. She is extremely passionate about what she does. She currently oversees six programs under World Vision. This as part of West Bengal Combat Child Trafficking for Sexual Exploitation program. Her passion and her dream is to see a society free from trafficking. Thank you, Supriya, for sharing with us this evening, and over to you.
Thank you, Crystalite, for this, for the introduction and for arranging this webinar on rehabilitation and reintegration. And yes, it has been a fruitful time of learning. And I would like to thank Angelica and Vinita for the wonderful insights, and especially Angelica, she brought back a lot of memories, because as I shared, I was working for 6 years in an organization where we used to rescue, and I totally agree that rehabilitation starts right from the time of rescue and goes on to the shelter home till the time the girl has gone back home. And in my 6 years of experience, before I could even share about the drop-in centers, I would like to just share about my experience in this area. And I would say that, yes, there have been success stories, but I'm sure we all also can relate to a lot of stories that have not been successful. And this is because, you must realize that our survivors, the girls, they have gone through a lot of trauma. They have been betrayed. They have been cheated. They have been abused. So it takes a lot of time. They say time is the best healer. But, in rescue, you can count a number. In your shelter home, you can count the number of the children you have trained, you have given mental counseling, you have given them the support. But once they go back into their society, that's when the real battleground begins. And that's where you see whether the girls you have been able to rehabilitate or reintegrate them. And I can say that I would not say it's like fully 100% we have been able to rehabilitate, reintegrate all the survivors that we have rescued. There have been times where it's very depressing because you keep working and working so much, but you don't see that kind of response. But I would just like to, encourage all of y'all that don't give up the work that you're doing, because every effort that you're doing, every investment that you're making in a girl, she may not tell you today, she may not listen to what you're telling her today, but down the line she will remember remember everything that you have spoken, everything she's learned in the shelter home, everything that we have done for her, she will remember. I have girls calling me even till today telling that, Didi, I know you have tried a lot for me, but I have not been able to there was a girl, we tried to get her into police because she had that thing inside of her to get all the accused arrested and everything. But she could not do that because of all the anger issues that she had. But till today she calls and says, I still remember how much you believed in me. So you believe in a girl, that's all that matters. And what plan we may have for them may not work, but I believe that every work that we do does it really the girls will remember this no matter what. So just want to give an encouragement to all of you all for all the work you're doing. Maybe nobody tells you this, but you are doing a great job. We may not be able to see the effect, but the girls whom we are actually working at, they really appreciate it, they believe in, and they're so happy that we are investing in their lives. So yeah, so this is all that I want to share. And with no further delay, I'll just share my screen about the work that we do. And Crystalite already shared that we are working with in the drop-in centers. And before I can even share, let me just tell about the work that World Vision is doing. We are working in the red light area. It was launched in 2017, and our our objective is to save and protect children from second generation trafficking and prostitution. So the work that I do is basically prevention and a lot of rehabilitation. And we have a team that is working in the border areas, we have in the source areas, we have a team working in the shelter home. We also have a team that is working with the rehabilitation and reintegration of survivors who have come back home. So these are the team that we have that are working. So we've covered in the red light area, we have working in the source area, we have working in the shelter home, we also have working back to the community where the girls have been restored. So this is what World Vision is working in right now. And before I can even share about the drop-in centers, I would just like to share with you about a research that was done by Columbia University consultants, United States, and we had interviewed 136. They had interviewed 136 women in Sonargachi, and there is a misconception that people have that all the women in the red light areas are there by their own will and wish, and they are there for a luxurious life. Yes, I do agree with that they are there with their own will and wish, but there are a lot of pull and push factors that are there for the reason that they're in this area. So one of the questions that we asked them was the reason for leaving their place of origin. And out of the 136 women, 13 women said that they wanted to escape domestic violence. 15% said that their husband left them for another woman. 18% of the women said that they wanted to get married, and 78% of the women said that they wanted to get work. So I'll just share with you about an interaction that I had with a lady named Anjali. I changed her name. So she was there. She was a very beautiful lady. She's a beautiful lady. She has a son, and the son was from her marriage. And I asked her, how did you even reach this red light area? And then she shared with me that she had gone through a lot of domestic violence, and her husband used to beat her every day, and she could not tolerate anymore. So she went back home. So after she went back home, after staying there for some time, the family made her feel like she was a burden. So ultimately, she had befriended a friend, a guy, and this guy told her about the work. He never told her very openly about the kind of work, and then he brought her. But ultimately, she realized that this guy was a pimp, and he made her work for 3 years in the red light area, and all her income of the 3 years he entirely took it. And finally, after 3 years, she was able to muster up the courage to tell the community people about this work and about what she was going through. And eventually they helped her and they filed a case against that man. So like this, we cannot generalize that all the women in the red light areas are there because of their own will and wish. There are a lot of pull and push factors. There could be trafficking, which at that point of time it was not there. And there are a lot of women. We have even women who have come from Bangladesh, but they don't have documents to go back, so they are still there. A lot of the women in Sonargachi are from Bangladesh. So we cannot generalize that all the women in the red light areas are there with their own will and wish. There have been a lot of pull and push factors. And on interacting with them, they have a lot of dream. And if you speak to a woman in the red light area, she would say her dream is not to just be in the red light area. Her dream is to educate her children so that those children can get good jobs, and then they can go back and ultimately take out the whole family and take them to a residential area. They say that by living in this area, as soon as you say that I'm living in a red light area, it kind of, people just kind of look at you in that particular way. So they sacrifice themselves. They literally they sacrifice themselves just so that they can support their family, support their children, to educate them, so that their children won't have to come and do that second generation prostitution. Unlike some community that they usually practice, like the Bedia community, they encourage second generation prostitution. But the most of the women in the red light area don't want their children to go into second generation prostitution. So that's the reason why they work out, they sweat out, just so that they can support their children in their education. And some of their mothers even send their children to institutions and shelter homes so that their girl daughters are not exposed to the environment. So that's how the mothers are. And I just see their heart that they have for their children. And my heart just reaches out to them to just see that how much they're doing for their family and their children. Even in this COVID-19 situation, my mother just shared that, I'm selling all my gold, I'm selling everything, whatever I've saved, I'm selling so that I can send my child to school. And I don't have either, there's no dropout, because I really want him to do well in life. even when I was interacting with some children, they shared with me that we don't want our mother to do this kind of work. We want our mother to, we want to work hard, we want to study so that we can get a good job, and then ultimately we can have our mother come and we can fulfill her dream by living in a respectable society so that we can work and help our family. So these are a lot of things that go through children and in the hearts of the mothers that are there in the red light area. And out of we seen in the when we interviewed the mother caregivers ability to meet the basic needs of the children, we found out that 53% of the women said that they are able to meet the needs of their children, but 1% said they are not able to meet, and 46% of them said that yes, we are able to meet, but with the assistance of NGOs and other people. And majority of the women interviewed in the red light areas either have one child or two children, and either some of them are in the institutional cares or they are with their relatives, some of them are with their biological mothers, some are at the reception homes. So not all the children are there in the red light area, but a few, probably 45% of them are there in the red light areas. So the mission of our World Vision is to ensure that all children are cared for and protected from child sex trafficking, abuse, neglect, exploitation of all forms of violence, with supportive families and communities. So that's what our heartbeat is, to protect, to provide an environment to our children even when they are in the red light area. So our project is being implemented in the red light areas of Kolkata and Siliguri, and we are supporting about 529 children, and we have plans of expanding our project in Guwahati as well. So in order to, in an effort to, just a second. My battery just went low. So in an effort to protect such vulnerable children from being trafficked, we have opened, World Vision has been running something called as child-friendly learning and recreation centers in the red light areas. What do we do in that child-friendly and learning recreation centers is that we have remedial and catch-up education for children. So a lot of the children, they are lagging behind in the education, and so they are in need of bridge education. So we provide them with that remedial so that they're able to be at par with the other students. We also provide educational materials that could be starting from umbrellas to bags to shoes to their notebooks to their stationeries, everything that a child would require for their education. We also provide them with financial support for the children to continue with their schooling. There's something called as, we have the sponsorship that every child who is from class 9 to 12, and we provide them with sponsorship where a certain amount of money is deposited into their account. We also provide vocational training for those children and youth who are in the schools, the dropouts. So, and this vocational training is not something that we provide. It's supposing that if some child comes to us and tell that, we want to do any kind of training, it could be from nursing, it could be from, it can be from any kind of, diploma course that they want to do, anything that they want, we are there to support them in that. We also provide them with life skill and personal safety education and mental health support. As you know, the children in the red light areas, they are exposed to so much of violence and so much of negativity around, if you see in the red light areas. And so they are very much in need. There's a lot of tension and stress that they have about questions that maybe they couldn't even ask their parents, or something that they are going through. So we have our specialist who has sessions with them, gives them mental health support for the children, and find out what they are going through and give them all the support that they require. We also do personal safety education like bad touch, good touch, and we help the children to identify, in case when they're in the red light areas, if there's anyone that is abusing them in any kind, to identify that kind of abuse, and to identify the safety net, the people whom they can approach to in case such things happens to them. We organize a periodical recreational and co-curricular activities for our children and families. We have something called as the Celebrating Families, where we take our children and the mothers from the red light areas, we take them to another place, and it's like a camp where we have for 5 days. And in that session, we try to it's like a time where the mother and the child, they get time to talk, the expectations from another, maybe the dream of the child, the mother gets to know, or there have been some kind of tension between the families. That's where they, they are able to find out maybe the mother's dream for her child, the child's maybe she's having some problem with her mother. So whatever is, all these things are there. This is where in that celebrating families we are able to address, we are able to strengthen the family, we are able to help them to identify where they want to go, what they want to do as a family. So this is something that we do. We have a lot of summer camps that we do with the children in uh, of the red light areas. We also provide them with supplementary nutrition for children. And as you know, in the red light areas, like when they come to the drop-in centers, we provide them with coaching. It can be any kind of coaching that they want. It's like maths tuitions, English tuitions, any kind of support that they want. And alongside, we also provide them with nutritional support that could be anything from cooked food to Bonvita, Horlicks, nutrition, milk, anything that they that we feel that they need, fruits. And alongside with that, we also have something called as the regular monthly meetings with mothers. As we know that mother play a very important role, we don't just work with the children, we work with the mothers as well to review the progress of the child, because as I shared with you in the beginning, that the mother are very much interested in the education of the children. So we make the mother a part of the progress of the child. We share with the mother if their child is not attending class or is she not doing well. We kind of discuss with the mother together and try to find out what is the problem with the child and how can we help them. We also provide something called as the income generation opportunities for the mothers. As we know that they are there, and like, unlike other organizations that are there in the red light areas, they usually have a condition that you have to leave the trade, then only we'll provide you with the business. But for us, we provide them the business, we provide them the skill, the training, and we leave the decision upon them, what they want to decide. At least we have given them that provision that in case you ever want to leave the trade, we are always there for you. And even if you don't, and you just want an alternate source of income, because doing this work that they are doing, it's not safe for them, and sometimes it can be very stressful at times. So we provide them with that opportunity that they may require, and we are always there for them. So yeah, for us, the child, the CFLRC is a safe place for the children to come and hang out. You know, they can just when if you go to the red light area, it's so congested with a lot of PIMs and customers and everywhere, and that even the rooms where the ladies they where they live, it's the same room where they carry out their activity. So basically, the child doesn't have any place where they can just go and hang out. So our centers are the places where they come. It's a safe place for them to come and hang out. They usually do a lot of dancing, singing, and they do a lot of learning, a debate. So it's a safe place for them to come. They know exactly, like, if there's no other place, they can come to these drop-in centers and spend their time. We also provide legal support for reported child abuse cases. Recently, there was a case where one of our child, the father stopped her from coming. It was her stepfather, and he stopped her from coming. And later we got to know that this child was raped by her stepfather for the last 5 years, and she could not tell this to anyone. And he stopped her from coming to our centers because we were talking about all that, the how to identify bad touch, good touch. He stopped her from coming, and then it's just, this is a matter of just 1 month back, and we just got to know that this child was she was pregnant. And so we provided her with all the support. We connected with the CWC, with the police. We have a lawyer that is looking into this case. And this child, all she said was that, I want my stepfather to be he should be punished for what he's done with me. So we provide this legal support for our reported child abuse cases, and there are a lot of and we are always there for them. And we also do a lot of rehabilitation of families. Like, as I said, every dream of a lady in the red light area is to come out of that area and to be in another place. So to relocate to a place, a residential place. So if there are any families that come towards us, or we identify any kind of family that have that desire to relocate, and they're willing to do that hard work to come out, we are there for them. So recently we rehabilitated one family from the red light area, and now they have shifted to Murshidabad, and we help them in constructing their houses, to construct their house, and they're also running a fast food center. And they are very happy at the moment. So that is one of our programs that we have, that rehabilitation of families. We also provide educational support, career counseling. So it's not just that we are supporting children till the age of 18. Even after they have completed 18 years of age, if they want to do any kind of nursing, any kind of diploma course, or any kind of higher education, be it college or anything, we are there to support them. And as I said, we have supported many mothers with alternate source of income, and that's what we are doing. And yes, we are making a difference, and I can see that the children really are they always say that we really thank you for investing in the lives of our children, because at least we are being there to support them in their dream. So yeah, that's all that I have to share, Crystalite.
Thank you so much, Supriya. I know a lot about World Vision, but little did I know that World Vision also supports a drop-in center like this, and I'm sure the impact is huge, and there are millions that are being saved and being restored. So thank you so much, Supriya, for sharing with us about what drop-in centers, and all of us have a hope that even wherever we are, we could do some little bit. I'm sure each one of you